There is a lot that unfolded with the car market this past week, and we need to talk about it. And for those of you who do like to skip around from topic to topic, I will have timestamps down in the description below. First is Tesla. This week, Tesla let go of their supercharger team, and the surprise and impact of this really can't be overstated. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the Tesla superchargers, this is a form of proprietary Tesla charging that's not only faster than normal EV charging, but it's also the largest network of chargers in the country, meaning it's one of the more accessible forms of EV charging. According to Bloomberg, Tesla has 6,249 supercharger stations across the country with more than 57,000 connectors. That is data as of Q1 of 2024, and again, this is the largest network of chargers for EVs in the country. For a very long time, in fact, up until really recently, you had to have a Tesla in order to use Tesla superchargers, which was obviously a bit of a benefit for Tesla because it gave people an incentive to buy a Tesla over buying another automaker's EV because of the fact that Tesla's EV charging network was just much more advanced and it was faster. But in recent months, Tesla supercharger access has been given to a larger variety of EVs and automakers out there, and as I'm recording this video, the majority of EVs on the road either currently have or are in the process of being given Tesla supercharging access. Now, the reason why this was so important and was seen as such a big win is that the decision to allow for other automakers to access Tesla superchargers was sort of a win-win for everyone involved. It was seen as a win for the auto industry as a whole because range anxiety in charging is something that really does prevent people from making the leap into EVs. And so by giving EV customers the confidence that they'll have access to these chargers, it was seen as a win. It was a win for automakers because EV customers were no longer justifying going with Tesla because of the fact that their charging was more advanced. And it was a win for Tesla because people have to pay to use superchargers. So this was viewed as an additional or larger revenue stream that Tesla could take advantage of. But this week, just a couple of weeks after Tesla laid off 10% of their worldwide workforce, the supercharger team at Tesla, consisting of about 500 people, were laid off. The timing of these layoffs were odd because these automakers that I mentioned earlier are actively being onboarded into the Tesla network as we speak, and employees are needed to not only get that effort going, but to keep the effort going. But in a statement, Elon Musk said that superchargers were actually a money loser and that this was an effort to cut costs. And on the platform formerly known as Twitter, Elon Musk posted, "Tesla still plans to grow the supercharger network just at a slower pace for new locations and more focus on 100% uptime and expansion of existing locations." It's also important to note that in the midst of these automakers transitioning to the Tesla network, these same automakers are also transitioning to Tesla's EV plug. It used to be that Tesla had a unique to Tesla plug. Now other automakers are adopting that same plug to create more standardization, which is noteworthy given the fact that these other larger automakers are adopting to Tesla's plug, not the other way around. It would sort of be like all phone companies transitioning to the Lightning cable rather than Apple and iPhones transitioning to USB-C. Maybe not the exact same, but sort of. EV charging is incredibly important for overall EV adoption, and it's also important to automakers with their goals and trajectory that they'd like to go for their own EV plans. And so the fact that Tesla has laid off these workers is something that is very concerning to the automotive industry as a whole, and Ford, GM, Toyota, as well as every other automaker out there is definitely keeping a close eye on what this could mean long term. But truthfully, maybe one of the things that it does mean is that this is just another nail in the coffin to the argument that hybrids and plug-in hybrids are really the way to go. But I will keep you guys posted as we learn more information about these layoffs. Next is vehicle sales for the month of April, and this data is still developing, so this update will be brief. It's a new month, which means that we have sales data for the month of April, and while the overall car market has declined by 1.8%, we do already have some early data regarding some winners and losers in the car market for the month. Toyota reported 13.7% sales growth this past April compared to the previous year, so they are definitely winners. Subaru also did well last month with reported growth of 9.5%, but Hyundai, Mazda, and Honda were all a bit of a loser, with Honda showing growth of only 0.4%, Hyundai and Kia were down 3.5%, and Mazda was down 3.9%. Now, as I'm making this video, these are the only automakers that have reported their April sales data, but we will no doubt learn some more in the coming days. And so be sure to stay tuned next week to see which direction different automakers are trending. But I do expect that with the exception of automakers that have been struggling with inventory, I predict that the majority of automakers will see decline in sales year over year in the month of April. But let's check back in a week to see if that prediction is correct. Another other update I have that I wasn't actually expecting to make is an update on Carvana. Carvana reported their Q1 earnings and they did really well. Carvana reported $3.06 billion in revenue compared to expectations of $2.69 billion. They reported a profit of $49 million versus a loss of $286 million this time last year, and the most impressive metric of them all is their gross profit per unit, which was at $6,432 this past quarter, which was up from last year's first quarter of $4,303. And overall, their sales were up 16% year over year. Now, for those of you who are newer to my channel or may not have kept up with the historical Carvana news, about 2 years ago, Carvana was on the brink of bankruptcy. In fact, I did a series on Carvana, and to this day, it's one of my most popular videos. Carvana was getting crushed, bankruptcy was absolutely on the table, but after some massive restructuring that was done in the last couple of years, it seems as though they've really been able to pull ahead and make a real turn for the better. In fact, their stock price has gone from all-time highs to all-time lows and back to pretty decent numbers, and on the news of these earnings report, Carvana is up 37%. The point is, Carvana has really turned things around, and to have positive earnings across the board when many automotive companies are doing the opposite, it's impressive and credit where credit is due. And last but not least is the new automotive braking requirement that has been making headlines in recent days. What is this, and more importantly, what does it mean for me and you? According to Bloomberg, rising fatal crash numbers in recent years have prompted U.S. authorities to issue a new mandate that will require car makers to install an automatic emergency braking system on new vehicles beginning in 2029. The rule, which is aimed at reducing roadway deaths, require the automatic braking technology on passenger cars and lightweight trucks kick in to prevent a crash at speeds as fast as 62 miles per hour. This is according to a statement from the NHTSA. Braking systems will also have to be capable of detecting pedestrians in both daylight and darkness. And according to the new rule, they would have to stop at speeds up to 90 miles per hour when a rear-end crash is imminent and 45 miles per hour when a pedestrian is detected. Now, like I mentioned, automakers are going to be forced to incorporate this into their cars in 2029 moving forward. So we're not going to really see the impact of this for quite a while. And other than that, it really doesn't mean a whole lot for us as consumers, other than the fact that cars will theoretically be safer, though it could also lead to cars being a bit more expensive. But it is so far in the future that it's kind of hard to say. Unsurprisingly, automakers are pushing back on this, and they say that it's going to have some unintended consequences. And the argument here is that automakers are already beginning to incorporate these features into their vehicles, and they shouldn't be mandated and forced to do it because they're already willing to do it. But let's be real. It's not like any of us could ever imagine a reality where automakers may not abide by a non-mandated thing. Could you imagine automakers being cheap or trying to make more profit at the expense of their customers? But there you guys have it. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it. So make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.